Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivemy.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of superhero television or film. And this week on the podcast, we are talking about the entirety of Loki.
Loki, the Disney Plus MCU television show on Disney Plus. All 6 episodes. We saw it. We're going to talk about it.
Was it 6?
It was 6.
Really?
Yeah.
For some reason I thought it was 8.
WandaVision was 9. Bucky and Falcon was 8.
This is sick. They're dwindling down on the numbers.
Oh, it's just getting smaller and smaller.
The next show, what even is the next Disney Plus show?
It's not announced.
Really?
Oh, wait, it's not.
I mean, She-Hulk, I think, they've announced. She-Hulk and
There's not dates.
Miss Marvel.
There's not dates.
Okay.
I think Hawkeye's done filming.
Ah, that's right.
And I also think Miss Marvel's done filming, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there were some set photos from Miss Marvel. I think She-Hulk's still a while off. But
I think She-Hulk and Moon Knight are still a while off. So there's some coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, so I guess Hawkeye and Miss Marvel are probably the two that are in the chamber. Ready
I feel like they maybe got screwed up because they're supposed to coincide with movies.
Right, and
judging by
movies
what
got pushed
happens
back,
in these.
The world gestures broadly towards everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so it was 6 episodes of Loki on Disney. Hot couple of weeks now for the MCU. Black Widow came out. MCU is back, baby. So we got Black Widow. Now we have Loki. We're going to be talking about it today, and we're going to be talking about it in full spoiler-filled detail, but since it is a new property, we're going to give you a quick spoiler-free review before we get into the spoiler section. So we'll give you a quick spoiler-free review, which I think, and we've mentioned this for a lot of MCU stuff, I don't know who needs the spoiler-free review. I feel like it is either you're going to watch it or not kind of thing. But in case you are on the fence or you're uncertain or you just want a taste of this episode before maybe you have them queued up and you're like, I want a little taste before I finish up all the episodes, we're going to give you a spoiler-free review first.
I will actually completely disagree with you. I think the shows actually need it because specifically my sister even asked me every time one of these shows came out if I should watch it. And I'm like, listen to my spoiler-free review, baby.
Really?
Got to get my sisters to download my podcast. So
Okay, all right.
So
you got to get that.
There's people out there.
I love that they're not sure. Well, I guess, okay, we are luring them in with the download, for the download with that. Is this Jess?
No, Christine.
Okay, all right. Sup, Christine?
You better be listening this time.
You better not just text her for this information because that's illegal. But
give it out for free.
We give it out for free anyway, but you've got to hit the download button.
I do give it out for free, don't I?
Yeah. But we're going to do a spoiler-free one. Then once you hear the theme music, that's when we're going to go into the spoiler section. So warning there. But spoiler-free review. Diana, did you like it?
I did really like it, yes. This is weird for me because I don't find the ending very satisfying. So that's kind of what I'm stuck on in my head. And I had to kind of go back through the episodes and be like, no, I really did enjoy every single episode. Like every episode had a lot to like. It's kind of constantly changing what it is in a good way, not in like an unfocused way. It's like this episode's about this and it's very fun. This episode's more time travel-y. This episode's more about Loki. This one's a more fun one. This one's a more serious one. So it had a lot of places it went. We have to be really vague on this one, you guys. I'm so sorry. It sounds like I don't know what I want to say, but it's just really hard to be spoiler-free on this show. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. Tom Hiddleston's really great. Owen Wilson is really great. They're phenomenal together. They're so good together. I loved a lot of the guest stars. Yeah, I had a pretty good time. I'm going to give it like a very high like. It's not a love. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to say WandaVision is the best out there for these shows. So yeah, that's my very vague. It's pretty damn good. If you like Loki, you'll like this show. If you like time travel, you'll like this show. It's a good time. Andrew, did you like it?
I also liked it. I'm a high like. I'm not a love. I do agree with you. WandaVision is still the better of the Disney Plus shows so far, but this is very good. Like you, I had to kind of take a step back before we recorded this episode and kind of try to think about the show objectively because all of us as human beings have a recency bias. It's just whatever was the most recent emotion you feel is how you feel about something. Like you, I did not enjoy the final episode. It, I think, is the weakest episode. It has the most problems, and we'll get into that in the spoiler-filled section. But obviously, since that was the final episode, that's the most recent one we watched. So my most recent emotion was a more negative one. But I would say that stepping back and trying to be objective, everything before that was very joyous. So I'm trying to remove my recency bias. And also, I am a guy and I am a person who just adds a lot of weight to endings. So that's a bias that I have that I'm honestly not trying to fight too much, because that's just how I consume media. I think that you really need to stick the landing. It's the most important part of a story, in my opinion. So I put a lot of value on how things end. And that kind of hurt it for me. But everything before I did really like. I think almost all the performances are flawless. I love the look and the style of this show. Everything is absolutely gorgeous. It is also exactly catnip for everything I like about time travel and sci-fi bullshit. Like, if someone just dove into my brain and took everything that are these exact little nibbles of what I love about time travel and science fiction, this show has literally 100% of it.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I have no problems with the time travel in this.
Right?
Which is, has that ever happened for us? Where we have not been mad about how the time travel works?
None. And the
holy shit.
The logic is near airtight. And even outside of the logic, how they do it, the people, the facilities, the mechanics, the items, everything feels rich and good. It is just all of the most interesting stuff without any of the BS and none of the flaws. It is a really high like if I remove some of the emotion I have around the final episode.
I'm in the exact same boat. Yeah, you remember the finale because you're like, that just happened. Emotions were high. But you go through the other episodes, you're like, these were all fun. We had a good time. Emotions ran high. I like gasped in, delight and excitement and surprise a bunch of times. If you get an actual gasp out of me, your show must be pretty good.
Yeah. Now, I can feel that, and I think we've danced around this question during our spoiler-free review, but can it be spoiled?
It can be so spoiled. This show can be not completely ruined, but a lot of big surprises can be taken away from you on this show, for sure. Like, we can't even get into half the things that happened right now.
Right.
I don't even think we can get into a third of the things that happened. So, yeah, it's very spoilery.
Yeah, I fully agree. It can easily be spoiled. There's a lot going on here, a lot of twists and turns, and not in like a bullshit spy thriller kind of a way. Not in a like, there's no way you could have guessed that and be like, Loki's his own mom? What? Like, there's nothing dumb, but it is also completely wild and unexpected and unpredictable in many different ways.
You're right. It's not dumb. Wow. The surprises aren't dumb and the time travel's not dumb.
Which is
way to go, Loki.
Time travel's really hard to write.
Oh, time hoodie.
No, if only this hoodie were a time hoodie. Yeah, they did some really great stuff.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
All right, so that is our quick spoiler-free review. If you were on the fence, I think we're both high like, not a love, but still a recommended watch.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Law,
gavel, that's in. And before we get into the spoiler-filled section, we want to thank our first sponsor of today's episode. It's our wonderful friends over at tpublic.com.
It's tpublic.com, where you're going to get your next favorite t-shirt or some other piece of clothing or accoutrement, as Andrew liked to say. My word now.
You're stealing my words.
I'm taking your word.
Gosh darn it. Gosh darn it, that's yours.
It's over on this side of the table now.
All right, accoutrements such as cell phone cases, laptop cases, stickers, wall art. So you can get clothing, but you can also get various other items.
And they're all wonderful, and they're designed by indie artists who are getting a fair commission for their work. So you're not supporting the man, air quote. You're supporting an indie artist who loves what you love and made a nice design that you really want to put on a shirt because they're dope.
Who loves what you loves.
Yeah, they loves what you loves.
I like that it's pluralized in both scenario.
Yeah, like they love, for my shirt this week, it's called Asgardian Absinthe, and it's Loki, and he's got an absinthe brand called Asgardian Absinthe, and he's crushing it, and he looks great. You know he likes to drink.
He has a drink or two.
He has a drink or two.
He has a drink or two. It looks good doing it as well.
It's all green, as you might expect.
As it would be.
But you can also change the color of the fabric if you want, because it's tpublic.com.
The one that I'm liking is simply called So You're a Variant, and it is one of the like variant pamphlet description breakdowns inspired by the show. That's what I'm really digging this week, just because I really like that design, that aesthetic, and that vibe.
That's cool. And another thing about TeePublic we don't bring up enough, like instantly get cool stuff from a thing you like.
Right.
Like, where else you getting a variant shirt right now?
Yeah, you're not. You're not, other than tpublic.com.
Other than tpublic.com.
So that's what I'm liking this week. If you like either of those designs that we just mentioned, or any of the ones that we previously brought up on the podcast, or if you just want to see ones that we like, enjoy, recommend, and think that you would like, check out our storefront, which is at tpublic.fromsuperheroes.com. And when you shop through that store link, if you buy one of the ones that's in our store, or if you just search around the website and get anything from the website, as long as you went there through that store link, not only do you support the artist who designed the shirt, but you also directly support this podcast as well. So it's a great way to get yourself something cool and support this podcast just by heading over to tpublic.fromsuperheroes.com. That is teepublic.fromsuperheroes.com. And now let's get into the spoiler-filled section. Let's talk about Loki. All right, so we've seen all of Loki. We can spoil all of the things now because we're in the spoiler section. So hold on to your butts.
Because Sylvie's a Loki.
Because Sylvie is a Loki. We've got a female Loki. Her name is Sylvie. They have a romance.
Ugh.
The TVA falls. Owen Wilson's a friend. He never gets his jet ski. God damn it.
You're really covering all the bases here. I guess we're done. Thanks for listening to Talk from
I just want to
Superhero.
spoil it all real quick. Guest appearance by Lady Sif.
Jonathan Majors is Kang.
Mm-hmm.
If you skipped ahead past the spoiler-free, we're so sorry right now.
We're so sorry. Richard Grant is old Loki, or I forget what.
Classic Loki.
Classic Loki.
If you will.
Comic book costume Loki.
That's a little long. I like classic.
Classic
I
Loki.
think that's the kindest term.
They do all have like technical character titles within the, like, I think he might be like Glorious Loki or something.
No, he is Classic Loki.
Is it Classic
and then it's
Loki?
Kid Loki, and
Yeah.
then the other one I think might have been Glorious Loki, the guy with the hammer.
Okay,
When
gotcha.
you're only in one episode, you're so far down the IMDb.
Boastful Loki was that one. That was
That's
Boastful.
close.
Yeah.
That's close.
Kid, Classic, and Boastful.
Don't know who played the crocodile.
Loki. Shout out to that crocodile.
Shout out to that guy. Oh wait,
Sup,
I
Crocs?
did see him. They had a CG crocodile on set. I actually saw it. They had like a stuffed crocodile, but he was blue, so that
okay.
they could CG him.
Okay, but just something for like sightline
Yeah.
and people having the actors having an actual visual reference.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe for that kid who was carrying him.
Okay. Now let's talk about this before we get in. Let's go through it from the beginning, because as we teased at in the spoiler-filled section, or the spoiler-free section, the final episode is the one we have the biggest problems with. So we'll kind of wait to get into that.
All right, fair enough.
But to start from the beginning of this show, just nom nom. This is everything that I enjoy about sci-fi time travel bullshit.
I was really taken aback in the beginning part. You made a great point about the distinct look of the TVA. It's 80s, but it's got a very specific vibe and look that they have really committed to and landed perfectly in a way that doesn't bother me. Like, sometimes you watch see dated things that are actually dated, but like when you're watching like Alien and you're like, in the future we wouldn't have computers that shitty. Like, it's supposed to be in like the year like 2050.
Right.
But you're watching this and you're like, oh, you're so advanced. Why is your technology in the past? But you're like, oh, but it's still like high tech. You just like retroed it.
Yeah.
It's
This
like when-
retro futurism
It's
kind
like when
of
you
like
put a Game Boy cover on your phone.
right. Yeah, a little bit. It is a little bit that.
It's still an iPhone, but you got a Game Boy cover on it, and you're like, it's fun.
Right? Well, what I like, there's so much that I think works about just the aesthetic of the TVA and the look and the feel of everything. So I'm probably going to get some of the dates and timelines wrong because I'm not an art or architecture student. But it is this combination of brutalism and brutalistic architecture, which is that it's very cold, industrial, poured, thick concrete, Soviet era construction.
Okay.
So it's just it's a plain nothing building, but it's made of solid concrete. It's just round, it's square, it's functional, but there's not a lot of like art that's put into it. And then inside is this like mid-century modern American influence, which is very colorful and warm and inviting, but is also very much designed around the functionality of a room. So it is this kind of like 50s, 60s design aesthetic, but from different areas of the world. And the one commonality they all have is it is designed based on function. And none of it is cohesive. It doesn't go together other than having that one theme of this was designed for function being the thing. So everything from like the exteriors of the buildings when they're like looking out of the windows to see this like crazy upside down like Escher type world that is going on, but it's all just this like gothic brutalism, and then inside it's all warm and inviting, but the one thing it has in common is just like this was just designed for functionality. And it's these really cool like art styles that shouldn't go together but do because of that common thread.
Yeah, they do go together in a nice way, because it could very easily just feel like they were like, we just picked everything that was functional from every timeline because we're time travelers, and we threw as much in as we could for Easter eggs. But it really does feel like they're in a functioning office that someone designed, and it just is slightly incohesive in a purposeful way.
Yeah, I'd fully agree with that.
But I will slightly disagree about the warm feeling, because I find that there's so much orange plastic happening that it feels actually like cold in like a McDonald's in a way that I like an old school McDonald's.
And that's not warm to you? That's not inviting?
No, whenever I've been to a McDonald's, I've sat down and I've thought, they want me to leave as soon as possible.
Okay,
It's fast food, not stay food.
Interesting.
Okay, they want you to sit down, eat your food, and get the hell out.
Hey, they are quick service restaurants. Thank you very much. The QSR industry has made that very clear.
I've never sat in one of those high turny chairs at a bar and thought, they want me to stay for hours. No.
Okay.
They want you out of there. So I get the cold McDonald's vibe of don't linger. But I don't mind that because the TVA is also ruthless.
Yes.
So I think it also fits them entirely. It's like kind of a lie of being inviting, the orange plastic to me.
Well,
like a McDonald's. I got a lot to say about McDonald's.
You're really throwing like an 80s McDonald's, which is based on like a 60s design under the bus.
I might have had a weird trauma.
I think there's something going. We're unpacking some stuff here. Let's pack it back up. That's not for the listeners.
One time I only got 5 nuggets.
And
I lost my mind.
All right, no, this could have gone way worse. This is not bad.
4 nuggets?
4 nuggets? I agree with you on the lie of it being inviting. So I disagree with you on the aesthetic of it. I do think it is inviting. I think it is. It's these warm oranges and auburns. It's very specifically like these rich browns. It is earthy, warm, inviting, comfortable colors. Like the type of colors where you're like, it's gonna be okay here.
Nothing
but I think
about
it is,
brown puts me on edge.
Exactly. And I think that is what is upsetting about that. That Loki arrives and immediately it is this like warm, relaxed, get comfortable environment, but you shouldn't. Everything is wrong, and it is the lie of comfort that I think is particularly like eerie and unsettling about this place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can get behind that. So yeah, great, absolutely structure, design of like the outfits, the look of the place, the TVA, wonderful structures. Also within this first episode, I just really like they kind of had to do this because they've taken the Loki from Avengers, that they just do like a real quick, like, we're basically going to get him to where he was in Endgame. We're going to show him his whole past. It's going to be the Loki you like, but we got to because we took him from Avengers, we got to get him caught up on his progress very quickly by making him watch clips of his old life. And I believed it when he sat down with Owen Wilson and went through his traumas and why he does the things he does. And I believed that he could change and develop that quickly.
Yeah, he gives a very phenomenal performance of
Hiddleston.
Absolutely terrific. He gives a performance that makes you feel right away that the gradual turn that he has by the time that Endgame comes around, by the time he becomes the guy who makes the sacrifice play. Through his scene with Owen Wilson, who's also a great scene partner in this, he really seeds in that this was not something that he grew into as much as it was a version of him that he had kept locked up inside the whole time, which is a different type of character progression. I think there's 2 different types of character progression. There is the seed that you push into the earth and you have to slowly water for it to grow into the exact character that it becomes way later on. And then there is a character type which has an exact finished version of themselves locked up and hidden away that they don't like for whatever reason. And I think that that's what Loki is. And the movies made him to be the slow seed growing. But this kind of rewrote it to be I have a version of me that I've held back. And it's a rewriting that really works because that scene is done so well and so well performed.
It absolutely does. But also from what we know of Loki, I do sincerely believe if you took his powers away and made him just talk about his emotions for 10 minutes, he'd be like, fuck yeah, what was I doing? I really was just like caught off guard by that frost giant thing. So, sorry, man. Oops.
A lot. He's had a few oopsies in his life. Getting his mom killed is a big oopsie.
That didn't even happen to this guy.
To this guy?
Not by Avengers. That's Thor 2.
That's true, but he sees it in the projections.
Sees it. Yeah, he sees that's where he was going.
And he believes that he would have done that and given that direction and made that mistake.
I mean, he would have. Yeah. He saw it.
He does.
He does. But
yeah,
I think he just needs like 20 minutes. And I totally believed it. And Hiddleston and Owen Wilson are the highlight of this show for me, especially when they're together.
Yeah.
This bromance that develops between these two made me filled with joy. You know I love a bromance.
Oh, I know you love a bromance.
Dies for a bromance. Like we don't have to talk about it, but like just jumping ahead when they hug the last time they see each other, and I'm like, they saw each other again, and he made a real friend. I was so proud of Loki. And their relationship develops so nicely. Like the trust really does have to grow slowly, and you believe it again in the same way you kind of believe that Loki's changing slowly. You believe he's made a friend slowly. And Owen Wilson really feels very Marvel. He fits in perfectly.
He does. He feels very Marvel, but he also still feels grounded in a certain way. Like there's a lot that he brings to this performance. He's such a great scene partner for Loki. I think part of the reason why his character works and why his performance works so well, and right off the bat, which is really tough to do, because Loki is Loki, and we've seen how everyone responds to Loki. But Owen Wilson's character, Mobius, he shows up, and he's the first person to express patience with Loki, and not necessarily a helpful hand or a guiding hand patience, but partially in this kind of babysitter patience of like, I'm going to let you tire yourself out. And that's okay. Tire yourself out, and then we'll talk in a minute. Whereas the MCU, Thor and Odin, and even all of the Avengers are so like quippy and quick to react and emotional and a quick response. No one's ever like let Loki talk himself in a circle. Everyone's so hurried to cut him off that it actually does feel like a sincere shift in power dynamic for his character. The second that Mobius just lets him be a snake eating its own tail and talk for so long that what he previously said doesn't make sense. I really like how quickly he lets that shift, and it sells their friendship immediately by putting them on the same power level.
Yeah, it puts them on the same power level, but they also establish very clearly that Owen Wilson literally knows everything Loki has ever done, making him kind of like the most trustworthy friend you could have. He's like, I know what he's going to do. I don't know the future, but I know enough of his like kind of like criminal profiling like set of ways that I'm like, I get what he's going to do and what he's about. So like, I know how to deal with them, and you believe it. And Owen Wilson is just delightful. But I also really like that this show, because I was very worried they were going to kind of make Loki like a loser in the first episode right off the bat. Like he can never get away, and he doesn't seem to be comprehending what the TVA is. He's not especially getting 2 steps ahead of them, even though he keeps saying he's smarter than them and is 2 steps ahead of them. But then the show actually like really does make him clever, which I really appreciate. I liked when he finally broke out and like got the collar on the Hunter B-15. I loved this was a time travel thing that I adored. My favorite time travel thing they came up with actually was hiding in apocalypses.
Yeah, very clever.
This was so
very
clever. I adored this as a plot point. I'm like, the time travel rules you have set up perfectly align with this puzzle piece you have laid in. Oh, it's so smart. Oh, I love smart time travel. Oh.
And it's something that I don't think I've seen before.
Yes, and we've seen so much time travel.
We've seen a lot of time travel stuff.
Yeah, and I've never seen hiding your time travel in a place where time travel doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
wholly brand
Not
new,
causing
as far as I
a
know.
divergence because everything is chaos. Just that first scene in, I guess maybe it's the first scene. I can't quite remember the order. But when they're testing the theory, when Loki
Pompeii.
comes up with a theory and they're in Pompeii, and just that, like, let's start small. And Loki's just like, get these chickens out of here. Knock over this cart. You're all dead. Anything?
I'm from the future. Are we from the future? Where are we from? And he doesn't remember if they're, I mean, and question, great question.
Yeah.
Are you from the future? And yeah, and no effect on the timeline because Pompeii is about to blow.
Absolutely brilliant idea the entire time, like hiding in the natural disasters.
Yeah, you can draw me in real quick with a brand new idea. I'm gonna log that away and be like, no, these people are clever. I'm gonna trust them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna trust a show that came up with an idea like that.
Also, they do a good job of. I know you didn't want him to be so. What was the word you used a minute ago? Hopeless or
He was kind of incompetent
pathetic,
every now and then.
Incompetent.
But then he got competent.
I think he just needed to adjust to a new power scale. Because in the first episode, I really enjoyed how overwhelming it all was, and I think the Infinity Stone reveal, the Infinity Stone pullback, while kind of a joke in a certain regard, did really add a lot of power and scale and felt imposing and fearful. And it really landed, and I think Loki as a character and Hiddleston in the performance did sell it as a, oh fuck, what is going on here kind of realization. And I think that was very clever writing to me. I need to get that Infinity Stone back. These things are worthless.
Yeah, that moment actually super stuck with me when he just kind of wanders over to just this kind of big ball of energy that I think is fueling the time travel and just like drops the cosmic cube and is like, is this the greatest power in the universe? Because Infinity Stones are already too powerful for him. Like he can do one at a time as a god, but he couldn't do Infinity Gauntlet. Like we already know it would have probably killed Thor. So he couldn't gauntlet. So to have a machine that shuts down Infinity Gauntlets, multiple Infinity Stones, like the awe, I believe it. This is not Loki putting on a face. This is him being like, oh, I have no idea how to deal with this.
And a great little guest appearance by Eugene Cordero, who is just a fantastic sketch comedian actor. He was in Kong Skull Island. He was on The Good Place as well. He's just really funny and charming in that role as the kind of administrator guy.
Yeah, there's like
Be like, oh, you're looking for this? Hey, we all use them as paperweights.
Before that, he had a scene about like not knowing what a fish was. That was also very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I loved Loki's awe. And then I like how the next episode, as soon as he becomes an agent, you know, he's still like adjusting, but you can tell that he's like, I'm gonna get control of this crazy power.
Oh,
You feel his scheming immediately, and he's so in character.
Yeah, the first episode's imposing terror. I need to adjust to this world, and the second episode is I need to, now that I have adjusted, I need to get in control again. I would say the one thing of those first two episodes that they're kind of building up to, and we're building up to the reveal of Sylvie, of the female Loki variant, is I think they showed their hand a little too hard on that. I saw that coming a bit too much because I think that there is setting up a construct with subtlety, but I think it was a bit too over the nose, hitting over the head, over the top with when they introduce these crime scenes. They're like, the sword, the daggers, these daggers, you know, it's those daggers. It's the daggers from the one. It's that person's daggers. I'm like, so it's a Loki variant. It's Loki's daggers. And they were trying not to reveal it. And then also they just gendered the person too often. And I realized that there is a way to play with that in a story to be like, oh, you've created a heteronormative ideal of a time killer that you presumed a male identity. But they just hit the pronouns a little too hard, where it was like, we found another crime scene. Him and his daggers. He stabbed whoever it was with his daggers. He did it again. And him, like, it was just too many uses of gendered pronouns to the point where I'm like, okay, so within like one or two scenes, I'm like, so we've got a female Loki murdering, and you're going to wait a while to reveal it, but you've gone way too hard with trying to send me in the other direction.
You, valid for you. I didn't guess this.
Fine. That's fair. That's fair.
I did not guess this. I was actually trying to think of like other characters that use like a lot of knives. I'm like, who's got knives? Who's the knife man? Because I sincerely was, even though clearly like when you say, you're like, yeah, Loki just fucking loves knives. It's him and Bucky. And Bucky, it's not Bucky. Bucky's not here killing people with knives as a time variant. But I think I just didn't, I did not jump to a Loki. I think because I was lulled by the competency of the TVA, because I'm like, well, they kill the variants immediately. We've seen how quickly they grab and kill those variants. So in my head, I'm like, well, this is the only variant Loki. I'm a fool.
Right.
Obviously, as we've seen, because there are dozens of Lokis in this show. So I'm an idiot, but I was like, the TVA would have got another Loki by now. So it's somebody else.
And one thing's for sure, they said he 23
So it's
times.
a dude.
So it is definitely a guy.
Yeah, so I didn't guess it.
Okay.
So I'm fine with it, show. I think you did a great job. I also think I talked during those scenes.
Oh, maybe.
When they kept saying he and stab, because I'm like, oh, Loki's not in this scene. Let's talk a little. Owen Wilson and some dude. Oh, you got blue bubble gum? I don't care. Let's chat.
All right, what's going on here?
Let's talk about Loki.
But I think that was the only reveal that I didn't that I saw coming a little bit. Everything else was pretty wildly out of left field, but in a fun way.
Yeah, everything.
I didn't see the apocalypse thing coming.
I didn't
that
see
was
the
a fun
apocalypse
twist.
thing. I didn't see like going to the edge of time, meeting other Lokis. We definitely guessed a Kang. Like we had a couple options for the end of who is in there, but like Kang was really high.
Yeah.
So we guessed that one. But like we're very good comic book people.
We know exactly what's going on all of the time.
Except for when I don't realize it's a female Loki variant.
And that's fine too.
So all of the time, I'm none of the time. When did Loki get crazy telekinesis? This is my one negative. Not one negative. I've got a couple more later. But this really bothered me, that out of nowhere he had insane telekinesis. I feel like I've never seen him move an object with his mind.
Yeah, I think I've seen him move his daggers and holographic stuff. But
Holographic stuff, of
But
course.
he is like moving desks and shit.
He moved a building.
Oh yeah, a whole he Yoda'd a building.
Yeah, a building was falling on him and he straightened it.
Yeah, you're right.
Like a skyscraper. And I'm like, this is too much. And I was also really annoyed because that like, this never feels like it fully finishes playing out. Like in the finale, him and Sylvie hold hands and they're like, we're stronger than we think we are. And I'm like, oh, because you lifted that building. But then this doesn't really go anywhere. The fact that Lokis are stronger than they think they are. Because then classic Loki makes a whole like city of illusions and they're like, how is he doing that? And then the Lokis are like, we're stronger than we think we are. And I'm like, this didn't really go anywhere. I guess maybe it just meant you could enchant the beast. But this really bothered me that he had this much telekinesis and everyone acted like it was normal.
It only bothered me for a millisecond. It didn't linger with me like it did you. I was with you in the scene. In the scene when it happens, it was a jarring moment of like, what the fuck? But then within like a few seconds, it had just kind of washed away as part of it. I agree with you. It just didn't linger with me like it did with you.
I think it also lingered with me because that entire episode, I was pretty sure, and this was me trying to be clever like you are, figuring out female Loki, I was pretty sure that entire episode was going to turn out to be a dream. Because Sylvie touches his forehead right at the beginning.
Is this the train episode that then ends with them trying to get onto the escape pod?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that whole episode at the beginning, Sylvie had gone into his head, and he was like, you can't get into my head. I'm too good. But then later she's like, when I get into your head, I have to like make you believe that you're my friend and that we're living things together and stuff. I'm like, oh, like right now? Like what's going on right now?
Okay.
I thought that whole episode was going to end up being like a dream in his mind that she's creating to enchant him.
Interesting.
So I'm like catching things. I'm like, well, he can't do that. He can't telekinesis the whole building up.
Right.
So this is a dream.
Right.
But then it wasn't.
Okay.
So it threw off my whole scheme of like reality.
See, my biggest problem with that big scene where he telekinesis a building is that I didn't like that they tried to do it as a oneer. Like they tried to do it as a one take, like this one big long like epic like we're looking for the thing, but it was very sloppily executed. Like for those of you who don't know, like a one take, it's just a long unbroken. There's no edit, or if there is an edit, it's a sneaky edit. But it's all CGI, so it doesn't need to be. They're trying to get the actors in a oneer. This choreography of like him and Sylvie running through a building to the right and then hooking through as they're racing to the thing. So it's meant to create this sense of like urgency and space. But buildings are falling over. That none of it's real. So it doesn't need to be this long one take. And there's a bunch of really sloppy edits in there to the point where it's like, oh, you didn't have the time to choreograph a one take. So Sylvie just keeps like running up to the camera like it's an end of a YouTube video and like covering it with her clothes and then moving away.
Like and subscribe.
And yeah, and that is a sneaky way to do edits. You'll notice it in movies when they're trying to do a long one take, a person or thing gets very close to the camera and everything is essentially just black or just white for a second and then they move away and that's the edit point. But it feels very like Sesame Street, her being like near, far. Like there are straight up like her like, oh no, we need an edit. Like I can see her and other background extras rushing to give the camera an edit point. And I, for the life of me, couldn't figure out why. It is two people running straight forward on a soundstage, green screen, with no physical anything, and literally nothing is happening, and we couldn't get it in one take. And it was really distracting. I really, really disliked that scene.
I didn't dislike it, but I agree it wasn't as special as they were clearly going for it to be. Like, we also didn't get a sense of geography, so as they were running, I didn't feel like if they were any closer or further from their target, I wasn't like, they're almost there, or like they're running out of time, or like they're gonna make it. It was one of the sloppier oneers I've ever seen, which makes me sad, because if you're gonna do a oneer, like, spend 3 weeks on it. Like, you gotta Daredevil hallway fight it. Like, it's gotta be spectacular and memorable, or else just don't do it. Yeah, because I do remember thinking it was sloppy, even as I was distracted by Loki shooting a whole building back into the sky,
right?
Which he's never been able to do.
Never been able.
Like, how could he not beat Thor if he could shoot buildings around?
Right? Full on Yoda's a building.
A whole building. Too much.
All right, well, let's take a quick break in the episode to thank our friends over at Paint Your Life. They are our other wonderful sponsor of today's episode, and Paint Your Life is fantastic.
They are fantastic. You can get a professional hand-painted portrait created from any photo at a truly affordable price. It is a wonderful gift to loved ones or to yourself. You can get wedding photos, anniversary photos, photos of your pets, landscapes, places that are important to you, photo of anything, hand-painted, and wonderful.
Whatever you want that means something to you or means something to someone else if it's a wonderful gift. And they have a team of world-class artists that you can work with them until every detail of the project is done. This is one thing I find cool. They have a team of artists, and you can kind of like look at their portfolio and be like, oh, okay, if you're thinking about like, I'm looking for a photo of my pet. And you're like, I want to look at their portfolio and see what the different styles of pet portraiture that these artists paint.
Yeah, so you can see there's oil, there's charcoal, there's watercolor, pencil, pastel. Like, you can be like, ooh, how do I want my pet to look or my family to look?
Absolutely. Like, pick out the style, pick out the artist, and then you correspond back and forth as well. So you submit a photo of, in this scenario, your pet, but it can be an engagement photo, a wedding photo, a family photo, or just a cherished memory, and you submit it. And they will give you back a pre-render to be like, here's what it would be like. How does that look to you? And you can give notes and edits. You could be like, actually, it's always bothered me. This is a great photo of a family reunion that we had, and there was a huge gust of wind, and everyone's hair looks bananas. Other than that, everyone's gorgeous, but a gust of wind came, everyone's hair looks bananas. Can you please fix? And you can then work with them and get things like that fixed and get the photo that you want painted in a beautiful painting. It's
absolutely beautiful. We got one of our engagement photos done. They kind of zoomed in and picked the best zoom for us, but we could have been like, zoom out, zoom further, do whatever you want. They removed some people from behind us on the beach, no problem.
We don't know those people. Get out of here.
Get out of our engagement photo. It's just us. It's quick and easy. You can get your hand-painted portrait in about 3 weeks.
It's absolutely fantastic.
And the price is so reasonable, you guys.
Oh, and they offer framing, and it is the most affordable framing I've ever seen that has ever humanly existed. It's fantastic. So what you're going to want to do is at paintyourlife.com is where you're going to want to check them out. At paintyourlife.com, there's no risk. If you don't love the final painting, your money is refunded, guaranteed. And right now, as a limited time offer, get 20% off your painting. That's right, that's 20% off and free shipping. To get this special offer, text the word SUPER to 64,000. That is SUPER to 64,000. Text SUPER to 64,000. Paint your life. Celebrate the moments that matter most. Terms apply. Available at paintyourlife.com/terms. So once again, text SUPER to 64,000. And thank you, Paint Your Life, for your support and your wonderful paintings.
Thank you so much, Paint Your Life. All right, I need to talk about a really big, I'm going to give it a personal negative for me, but a negative that I've also seen on the internet backing me up a little. I don't think this bothered you at all. I'm really grossed out that they kissed.
I'm mixed bag that they kissed. I'm not really grossed out, so I'm not with you there. I am mixed bag. I acknowledge that it is conceptually weird.
It's awful. This to me is, I've been so tense ever since they started making eyes at each other. I'm like, don't you dare be in love. Don't you fall in love with each other. This is gross, 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 gross. You're clones of each other. You're basically like twin siblings. You are each other. Like, you're siblings in my head. This is so awful to me. Like, you should make a family and support each other and be like best friends and be there for each other. And you do have a nice rapport. But like, just kissing yourself and like feeling romantic feelings for yourself seems, I will admit, kind of healthy and,
right,
and gross at the same time. I love myself.
It does exist somewhere in between healthy self-esteem and narcissism. It is, but that is also a place where it's weird, but I think it is a place where Loki lives. I think that is an exact dead-on analysis of his mental health and sense of self.
He is the only character who could ever get away with this in the entirety of the MCU because he does have that narcissism mixed with like ego problems and self-esteem issues. But I think it's easier to be like, it's fine because she's like a blonde lady, but like he's bisexual now. Also great, wonderful, wonderful MCU. Love that. If he was kissing like him, gross. Gross, gross, gross. This is like self-incest. It's masturbatory. I don't like it at all. It grosses me out so much.
But masturbation is fine.
But you can't have sex with your siblings.
You can't, but you can with yourself.
I just don't like it.
He's not fucking Lady Thor. He's fucking a female Loki.
It feels like a twin sister.
I'm
giving it twins. Like,
okay.
It's you raised by the same parents from a different timeline. And like, I'm not like, this show should be canceled. It's morally wrong. I'm just like, me personally, so grossed out. And I've been so tense for the last 3 episodes. When they shared that blanket, I was like, no, please, no. I don't like it. It's awful. Have Loki fall in love with a boy.
Yes, definitely yes to that. Because while it's great that he is bi, let's not throw Disney / Marvel any parades just yet because
he's still like with a lady.
Yeah, he's still with a lady, and it's still yet another example of Disney being like, these characters are bi or gay off camera. Don't worry about it. You don't see it, and also we can edit it out for international distribution so that no one in any country that's not okay with that ever sees this scene ever in any regard.
Because it wasn't the most confirmatory line. It was still at a point where Loki's lying to Sylvie. So I was like, I don't even know if this is that much of a confirmation.
Right. And much like Star Wars and their animated movie and Disney animated movies, it is still 10 seconds of screen time that is easily deleted for any country that might even be mildly offended by that. Mm-hmm. So, no huge parades. That's why I agree with you to circle back to Sylvie. The moral complications are weird. I'm not saying it's smooth. I don't find it as gross as you. I would have found it better, frankly, if it was himself.
What? No!
Would have found it way better because then I would be like, it's masturbatory in the positive sense of that word and not the negative sense of that word. It is just straight up like, yeah, that's cool. And also, that's a gay kiss in this that you would have to acknowledge and do.
Oh, yes. Support gay kisses.
Support gay kisses.
Support the gay kisses. And I guess if it's like 2 dudes, you're like, I know what I like, you know what I like.
Oh, it's going to be the best
fun.
sex of Loki's life.
It's going to be the best sex of your life. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no arguing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Still don't like it, but that is a more interesting take and one that is uneditable.
You can't edit that. That changes the fabric of things.
This is the height of the show, the climax of everything going on. You couldn't cut that.
Yeah. Like, if I, outside of the concept of space and time, like beyond the end of the universe, am with me, I might fuck me.
I mean, it's a good place to do it. Like,
yes.
Literally the edge of time. When else could you?
And in this scenario, if I wasn't with you. You know,
thank you.
Because I do think it's masturbatory, but
it's still cheating.
So it is in a weird place where it is masturbation, but it is also cheating if you're in a relationship.
If you left me for you, that would fuck me up mentally so bad.
If someone could steal your man.
It'd be my man.
It'd be your man.
It better be a variant of me if anyone's gonna steal you. It better be a me who likes more sports or something. I don't know.
I'm not even that hard into sports. You like the one sport I like.
I just couldn't think of any flaws of me. It's just completely.
You couldn't think of any flaws of you. Yet you cannot at all associate with someone who loves themselves enough that they would kiss a variant of them.
That's because I know if another version of me showed up, I'd be like, hello, we are just friends. And I know this, and I know you know this because you are me.
Okay. Now, I will say, aside from the moral implication of a variant / clone / similar DNA / maybe a twin sister / a different consciousness from a different universe, but still you, despite the moral implications of all of that, I think it also worked for me because I feel like Hiddleston and Sophia Di Martino, who plays Sylvie, have sincere chemistry on camera, and I think that they pop together, and I really like them in scenes together. So I think just as performers, they sold that really well, outside of the implications of dimensional hookups.
It's hard for me to look at it because I didn't want it, but the fact that I knew it was coming means there was chemistry. Because as you know, I miss this a lot of times.
You often miss these.
So they did have actually very good chemistry. I could feel the longing. I could see the looks. I could feel the kind of nervous shyness of when you're with someone that you like. You're you're trying not to look at them, but then you look at them when they're not looking, kind of thing. You're wondering if you can trust. It's all there. It's wonderful. I actually didn't love her. I didn't dislike her. I don't think she's bad. I think she's a good actress who didn't feel like Marvel to me kind of ever. She felt like a really good theater actress who never quite got to the Marvel level to me. She felt like she was very serious all the time and doing a very serious job, and at no point thought, this is fun. Marvel's a fun thing. Andrew is warming up for something. Andrew, hit me with what you got.
I love this. That's why her performance is brilliant.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
In the I was the first episode or two with Sylvie. I 100% agreed with you. I'm like, she doesn't belong here. She's a little stiff. This performance doesn't match in. But she has not had, as a character, has not had any family in her life. She has been completely alone. She is early days Loki. Throughout the course of this show, and I think it is an active decision on her part because it would be insane if this was just a mistake, but throughout the course of this show, she evolves her performance from Tom Hiddleston in the first Thor movie to Tom Hiddleston in Endgame. Of this, I am doing a Shakespearean diction. Tom Hiddleston in the first Thor movie, he's still charismatic and charming, but he is he's a British theater actor, and it's a movie directed by Kenneth Branagh. And in the first Thor movie, it's Tom Hiddleston walking into a room being like, hello, brother, I have come to play tricks again. And it's like, okay, that
was pretty spot on.
And that eventually evolves into very soft-spoken, traditional American film acting, which is a lower gear, a smaller performance because the camera picks up more, and it's him looking at his brother and saying son of Odin, and just mumbling it to himself, and it's huge, but that's film acting. But it took his character to get there. He was stiff royalty, and he became a friend and family member. And I feel like that arc happened over a decade with the character of Loki, and it also comfortably happened, I think, with the progression of Tom Hiddleston being a movie star in more traditional American movies.
Yeah, I think he'd basically done mostly theater before he got Loki.
But Sophia DiMartino as Sylvie encapsulates all of that in 6 episodes. I think she goes from beginning Thor of her coming in and being like, I was abandoned, the TVA shall fall, and like clear British theater diction. I stand, I deliver my lines, I am at 45 degrees, I turn, exit stage right, scene. And she evolves from that into like a soft, small, I'm matching Tom Hiddleston as she becomes more like Tom Hiddleston's Loki.
I love how excited you were to say this. I disagree. I still think she never found the fun of Marvel. She never got to Taika Waititi. Because Loki went there for a while, and then you're big, and you're loud again. And you're quiet during the Odin Sun moments when you're about to die and Thanos is going to snap your neck, sure. But, like, she just never felt like there was a spark of fun or, like, big energy about her. I still think she was very good. And, like, I felt that she wanted vengeance, and I felt her loneliness. And I feel like she's a very good actress. I just never felt that Marvel spark that I think like Owen Wilson has and Tom Hiddleston has and Jonathan Majors had in this final episode. She's never quite had it.
Interesting.
To me.
Jonathan Majors has it. You're right. Jonathan Majors has it.
He had the shit
we'll get
out
into
of
that in a bit. He has the shit out of it. And if she was going to match, if she was going to get up to like Taika energy, that would have been the scene to do it to match his.
Yeah.
I don't think she was given that setting or context to necessarily showcase that.
She was in the silly episode with the variants.
Fair enough.
She never really like gets quite there. But like she's not bad. I'm not saying like I don't like her. She's just I think Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston and Jonathan Majors and maybe even a little what's your name? Gugu Mbatha-Raw.
Yeah.
A little bit above her for me. So yeah, I think she's a very good actress who's not quite MCU.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I was just very excited because your complaints were the exact complaints that I had until mid episode 4, and I was like, "Oh, okay,
she's finding it.
It's happening here."
Okay.
And then suddenly I started seeing gears shift.
You made me kind of want to rewatch it, maybe because I also admit I was in gross don't kiss mode almost entirely from episodes 5 and 6.
Fair enough, and maybe she doesn't quite sell it or it doesn't land for you, but I do see something where I'm like, I think that was a smart and clever acting choice to be like, I know where I'm starting this character and I know where I'm ending this character as a juxtaposition for that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I do think that Gugu, who plays the leader of the TVA.
I kept calling her the director. Her name's just Ravonna.
I don't recall them ever saying Ravonna.
They said that a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do I not have no memory for this character name?
It's not a common name, maybe?
Maybe.
But I don't know if her name was the director or if that's just what I kept calling her in my head. It doesn't say that on IMDb.
Yeah, I was like,
for a short term, I was just like the director, whatever.
Right, absolutely. So she I think did a fantastic job. I think she was the most well laid out character. A couple of flops in like writing moments, but as a performance, really crushes it.
Oh, what didn't you like in her writing moments? Because I thought her progression, like I was very interested in this.
I was interested in her progression. I think her denial at the end, while there is a way to do that there are characters who are like, I will continue to perpetrate the acts of violence that I've been trained to do because I know nothing else and I'm afraid to question it. She felt too intelligent to keep doing that. Like, it felt borderline stupid. Like, it crossed, I think, from I'm a villain who's going to keep doing what I'm trained to do into naive, and then it went past naive into like I'm a suicidal baby. And that writing, I think, went a little too far for me for her character.
That writing, to me, was my favorite part of her character.
Okay, tell me more.
I did not feel like she was, because normally, I do agree, these kind of characters are usually very dumb. They're just kind of following the path they've been set on, or they're pure evil. I really liked that she kept doing what she was doing because she very clearly states this couldn't have all been for nothing. She desperately needs her life's work to have meant something. She's not dumb. She's not an idiot. She won't let herself believe that this was for nothing. She's killed variants all over the world. She's followed these people blindly. She just cannot face this truth yet. And I don't think that makes her dumb. She's in denial.
Yeah.
And, it's only been like a few hours that she found out the timekeepers weren't real. I actually really liked this as a character arc of, I am desperate for this to have been the right thing to do. I don't want to be the villain.
Now, I bought that the first scene or two. Like when she sees the chopped off head and stuff like that. I bought that. I feel like maybe they milked that beat a little too long for me because because then they have the scene with the chopped off head, or it's like, I refuse to accept this. Then it was another, I refuse to accept this. Then it was Sylvie pleading with her, and she refused to accept this. Then Owen Wilson comes back, and she refuses to accept this. Her second in command confronts her, and it was...
She didn't have anyone backing her up.
She didn't have anywhere to go with that emotion or storyline, and it just made it feel a little one note by the sixth time that we were kind of milking that same emotion. But I agree with you, the first scene or two where she's feeling that, it did feel sincere and natural writing, and I was with her as where her character was. But it played that note a little too long for me.
I can see what you're saying. I think it would have helped. I would like to know what's on the file that Kang wanted her to see, because she asked for a certain file, and then Kang sent one through Miss Minutes that was, you should see this one, and we don't get to know what that file is. So I feel like that might also have been her driving, she has information we don't.
I'm willing to bet, if I were to guess... Because obviously we need to find out in season 2. But I think that file is where Kang is in the timeline. Ooh. I think that the file that she was sent was a file that simply said, I forget what year Kang said he was from, but it's
30-something.
Yeah, a file that simply says Kang, born this date, find me at this place at this time. I need to run the TVA to restore order. And so she went and found him and changed the timeline, which is why no one at the TVA remembers him, because she went and found the person in charge and re-put him back in charge, but without the shadow government of previously.
Maybe.
So I think that that's why the timeline changed and where she went. It was basically a note that was like, go find me. The only person who can help me is me. I'm Kang. Go check me out.
That doesn't track for me just because as much as I liked everything she did, I was very confused by her final line of, I'm going to try to find free will. Because that's what the Lokis are trying to do, and you're trying to stop them.
Right.
Because Loki and Sylvie blatantly go to Kang and are like, we want free will. We don't want you to kill variants anymore. We want timelines to be able to diverge. And then she's trying to stop them, and her end line is, I'm going to go find free will. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to find the opposite of free will.
I was legitimately expecting one more sentence. Because when she said that, you got mad on the couch. Like, she said, I'm going to go find free will. And you went, no, you're not. That's not a thing you do. But I was like, in my head, I'm like, hold up, give her a minute. Because I thought the next sentence was going to be, I'm going to go find free will. Long dramatic pause. And destroy it once for all. Her new mission was like, there just can't be free will anymore. It is fucking everything up, and I need to protect the timeline above anything. So I thought there was going to be a second sentence, and it just didn't come.
Maybe that's implied. It's like when Sylvie's like, I'm going to find the timekeepers. And from her tone, you know she's going to kill them. So she's like, I'm going to find free will. They killed my family. Free will is the devil.
Interesting.
Maybe it's that. I don't think it actually is. But yeah, that line confused me.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. That was definitely a strange line.
Mm-hmm. It will be. I do have to point something out about this storyline, since we're on free will. You won't know this, but as I thought about this, I couldn't stop laughing quietly to myself. The plot of this entire show is basically the same plot as season 15 of Supernatural.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying they ripped off season 15 of Supernatural, because that would be fucking ridiculous. But season 15 of Supernatural is about God destroying all the timelines, and then they have to kill God, and they're even called Team Free Will. The main guys call themselves Team Free Will because they're sick of God dictating their lives, and they have to kill him. And there's more similarities than that, but I think that's enough short term.
Was 15 the final one?
It was the final season.
That was the final
the
one.
season
okay.
we just watched.
All right. So that was the recent one. Okay.
The recent final season. Oh, spoilers for Supernatural. I'm so sorry if you're not caught up on 15 seasons of Supernatural. But yeah, I was sitting there and I'm like, oh, Team Free Will version 2.
Oh, okay.
So we got you don't see a lot of shows where they just kill God.
You don't see a lot of shows that rip off Supernatural season 15, late season Supernatural. You don't see a lot of that being ripped off out there.
It only ended like 8 months ago, so maybe in the future we'll see some more.
Gotcha, of course.
Definitely going to be some rip-offs of season 15, specifically of Supernatural, coming down the pipeline.
Of course, naturally?
Supernaturally.
Ah, I see what you did there. Okay.
No flaws.
No flaws at all.
Obviously,
I have
you meet a
nothing to add
version
to
of
this.
me. She'll be the exact same because I have no flaws.
The only cameo in this show was Lady Sif, but it was nice. I was happy to see because Lady Sif is the star of the TV show Blind Spot, which is
That's
that's what
over
it's
now.
called, right? It's over now, but that was why I think she didn't really pop back to the movie. She had a small runner on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. one of the
I think
seasons.
2 episodes in season 2 or season 1 actually. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she kind of gets thrown these like side pieces. They're like, you're just big enough
Yeah.
to be a fun cameo.
Well, I think she's a terrific performer.
I
and
love her.
And I wish that she was around more. I'm almost glad that she wasn't because it might have meant that she would have been killed off in Ragnarok, whereas now there might be room for her to still be around, question mark.
I was always surprised they never explained in Endgame where she was because she didn't die in Ragnarok.
I think they do kind of want to keep her around alive because I think that, and obviously this cameo is somewhat proof to that, but I believe that Disney Marvel recognizes that this character pops and this actress who can anchor a TV show for, how long was Blind Spot on? Like a good 6 years?
Oh, I thought it was only like 3.
Really? Okay, but either way, like long enough to
Oh,
be like,
and-
you anchored a network TV show.
And I also love watching her fight. Like, she is really fun in action scenes. She's like, just got like a fun battle face and energy when she's battling. Like, you do believe she's a warrior who enjoys combat.
Yeah.
But also has a compassionate side.
I think Disney
Yeah, no, I
recognizes that
like
there's
her a
still
lot.
value to this actress and character and didn't want to give her a one-line write-off in Endgame or something like that.
No, I like that a lot. I did think it was silly that you can kind of charm the people in your mind prison to a different ending. Like, it's a memory.
Right.
So I thought it was like dumb that you can just charm her into not hitting you. But that's just a little small piece of like, if it's a punishment prison, you shouldn't just be able to do a little speech
Right.
and not get hit.
Right. Yeah, we don't quite know enough of the rules of the mind prison. I would say that the whole point of why her reaction maybe slowly evolved over time within the mind prison, if it is a projection of his memories and his perception of himself, that her perception would become kinder of him as his perception becomes more forgiving of himself. Whereas that he actually remembers this and also perceives her action to be reasonable and just for what he has done in this scenario. And the more that he admits his own flaws and kind of leans into that, the more he accepts forgiveness for himself.
Is the mind prison the final season of The Good Place? Where you become a better person slowly and then you get released?
Sure, maybe.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it didn't bother me
but there wasn't
too
enough
much.
rules for me to fully justify this explanation either.
Yeah. Because like I got the impression it was a punishment, so I didn't think you should be able to just be like, it's fine now, we're friends.
Yeah.
Do. Now I'm just an Asgard.
But Owen Wilson comes in and is like, I'm freeing you from this anyway.
I'm freeing you from this.
Yeah, so let's get into final episode. Let's talk. So there are some positives, some negatives. Before we slam negatives, positives. Oh my God,
Jonathan Majors was great.
an incredible Kang.
I am very excited for more Kang because apparently we'll have multiverses of him. So that's great.
And he is signed on and slated to be the villain of the next Ant-Man movie. So we've got that going on.
I can't wait for Ant-Man to fight Kang. Genuinely, Paul Rudd and this guy together in a room.
Right.
Chef's kiss.
But also, I think that he has enough range as an actor that he can actually perform different variations of Kang. Like, I can actually see from this performance, this is a Kang who knows all, sees all. This is the end of time Kang that is a sincere concern for the fabric of all of known reality. I don't think that's the same Kang we're going to get in Ant-Man. And I think that we might be able to see other permutations of Kang down the road that are zanier or more imposing. I could easily see a performance of this that is closer to Thanos, and I could see a performance of this that is closer to Yellow Jacket. Like, there is variations here, I think.
Yeah, there'll be variants of Kang, and I think he is going to be very good. I've only watched clips of Lovecraft Country. I know it was supposed to be really good, and I'm sorry, but I know he was like very different in that and like very, very good. So I'm really excited to see his different versions of Kang because, yeah, this is definitely like tired, done Kang, but he didn't feel tired, but he felt ancient.
Yeah.
And like driven a little crazy by it.
Yeah, crazy in a fun way. And the kudos to him as an actor because it's also the hands down stiffest, worst, hardest to deliver dialogue in the entirety of this whole show. Like
8 minutes of exposition?
Jonathan Majors crushes it. It's all exposition. It's all time travel gobbledygook. This is the worst and toughest to deliver dialogue. It should be miserable. Like comparing this to other media properties, this felt almost identical, but this is the fun version that works to the end of The Matrix Reloaded, where Neo meets the architect, and the architect is just like, I also arranged your rebellion, and getting here to the end where you can either restart or you can create infinite permutations. Like, it is almost the exact ending of Matrix Reloaded of a conversation with the architect, except instead of every third word being vis-a-vis and ergo, it was fun and charming and personable and manic. It is the toughest, worst dialogue in the whole show, and it is the most memorable and fun dialogue of the whole show, and that's nothing but credit to the performer. The
performer, I will still give credit to the writer. Like, there's a lot to wrap up in this, but they really put some fun things within the monologuing. Like, I really like pulling out the paper and being like, I know what's going to happen, and showing the paper with the dialogues of, like, what's going on. So proving he does already know what's going to happen. I think that's very fun. The moment where they cross the threshold and he doesn't know what's going to happen anymore, and he got really excited but scared at the same time. Chills. I love that moment. Like, you can feel that he hadn't not known for centuries. Like, the excitement of not knowing what's going to happen next just washes over him, and it's a wonderful performance because, like, I could feel it through the television.
Yeah.
I could feel his insanity and excitement, but like a little bit of terror and like kind of hope because he knows if they kill them, he'll just be back.
Yeah. And to make that decision as a performer, to get those directions to be like, you read the script and you read the direction that this is now the point where you've crossed a threshold where for the first time ever, you are excited, fearful, and everything because you don't know what's about to happen. How do you convey that? And that is such a difficult task, and holy crap, does he deliver it. You can taste that moment. He delivers it so well.
He delivers it so well. I will say I like about 90% of this final episode. I really like them being, like, offered what they want by Miss Minutes. Like, you can live on the same timeline, like being given these gifts and them having to deny them and be like, no, we want free will. We don't just want to be part of the system anymore.
Right.
We want to break it all down. I thought that was great.
Agent B-15, like recruiting and turning other officers, I thought was fun.
By proving to them they're also variants. She had a moment a few episodes before that when she had with Sylvie where she gets to see her past life and she says, I looked happy, and it's wonderfully acted out. She's very good.
I'm really glad that she got to shine later on because she wasn't quite delivering the goods as the guard. I agree, As Hunter B-15, I was like,
you're not anything. Yeah.
No, you're not you're not imposing. You don't feel authoritative. You don't know how to play both sides of this character the way that the director knows how to play both sides of that character. But once B-15 turned, it immediately clicked where I'm like, oh, this is who you were cast for. You were cast to play, I don't think they ever reveal what her like non-variant human name was, but you were cast to play the human version of Hunter B-15 and not the Hunter version of Hunter B-15.
Yeah, 100% I agree. Yeah, because as soon as she's like, I looked happy, like she's a different person, a different performance, wonderful. Most of the finale I really liked. It just seemed like it ended really abruptly and nothing was resolved. I loved Loki fighting with Sylvie and their differing points of view. And maybe it isn't gross that they kissed because they are clearly different people because they approached the situation incredibly differently. They had a couple lines that I loved. Like, I loved when they're just like looking at each other and Loki says, "You can't trust and I can't be trusted." Like a couple lines that
was
really
beautiful.
cut to the core of who these characters were. Yeah, and I thought the fight was really fun. I really didn't know what choice they were gonna make, so that was interesting to me. Yeah, but then it's just this like weird Planet of the Apes ending where also your mind has been erased. I think seeing the statue is very Planet of the Apes.
Okay. Fair enough. This movie's really inspiring a lot of other things in you.
Hey, you also compared it to The Matrix.
Fair enough, you got me.
You're always thinking about The Matrix over there. But yeah, it ends abruptly. I sincerely don't know how Loki's been forgotten. That doesn't make any sense in anything that I can connect.
That tracks for me.
How did Loki get forgotten?
There's a lot of leaps here. So
okay.
What I think happened, and it's a bad ending. It is a bad ending, and I still want to kind of dive more into the ending. But from what I can track happened, I think it might have something to do with the director's last mission of going off.
Oh,
so
okay.
so obviously that statue, it is of Kang.
It was of the Timekeepers originally.
Now it's of Kang. So Kang has cut out middle management. Kang is now he doesn't want to be the man in the shadows. He doesn't want to be the man behind the curtain, Wizard of Ozing. This is a version of Kang that is the conqueror, the attention seeker, the one who's trying to attack and take over timelines.
Or the actual Wizard of Oz. Just there is no curtain now.
Oh, okay, yeah. Or he's the actual wizard. There's no curtain.
But I get what you're saying. He's conquering.
Yeah, and Loki existed outside of time and space, so he is he was beyond the end of the world. So he is coming back into not the world he left. He is coming back into infinite permutations of timelines where, it is weird to think of it as linear time because all of existence in everything in every direction was happening at once around them. So the second he leaves, that world's gone. That reality does not exist anymore. There is no way for him to re-enter, or not purposefully, obviously, because Sylvie did the killing, but it is literally impossible for him to re-enter a reality that was the reality where Kang controlled one singular timeline, because with multiple timelines, everything exists except for the one reality where there's only one timeline. It is the only reality that no longer exists in any form or variation in any way, in any regard.
This all tracks. Okay, I get this, and this makes perfect sense for why the TVA changed, and I guess maybe why they don't remember Loki.
Because he would never have been there to be arrested, to escape, to go to Kang at the end of time, because Kang's not at the end of time anymore.
Fair enough, but Sylvie kicked him out before she killed Kang. I think he would have just changed with everyone else, wouldn't he?
I think maybe like once you've been to the end of time, it lingers.
You're like immune?
I'm with you there. That does kind of make sense.
Mobius was at the end of time?
He was right before the end of time.
Is that what the threshold was?
That's the threshold. That was the
Okay.
creature they had to pass, was into beyond the end of time.
All right, I guess. Okay, yeah, that was what was fuzzy for me. Like if Sylvie came back and it was different, I'd get it. But Loki having been pushed through the door before she killed him
I see what you're saying.
messed it up for me.
That he should cease to...
Because he was just sitting there.
So he should cease to exist.
Cease to
essentially.
exist or have his
under the
memory
logic-
change somehow for how this timeline had shifted.
Right. I see
But
what
all
you're
right,
saying.
no, I'm following that, and that tracks for me. But it's one of those, I think it's the things you don't like about, that's not a clean ending. I shouldn't have to wait for season 2 to find out why they don't know who Loki is.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's just a bad ending. It is inconclusive. The resolution isn't strong. They dance around a resolution. Even Sylvie and Loki's resolution doesn't feel strong because it doesn't feel like a clear and definitive we can't be together. They're just going to dance around this for a whole nother season. Sylvie's not obviously not gone. She exists beyond time. She's on the throne.
She's going to come back or whatever. And they don't hate each other to the extent where they can't trust again. They just had differing opinions on what to do with Kang.
Yeah, it feels like a mid-season finale for a network TV show where they're we're going on mid-season break and we'll be back to finish this storyline. But in itself, this is not an ending. I'm not even going to say it's a bad ending because they didn't write it. They did not do it. This is a classic example of you didn't know what to do for an ending, so you just didn't do one. Not finishing something is not a cliffhanger. And this has been a problem we've mentioned it many times in the podcast. It's a problem that a lot of writing has now for TV, where they're just like, what if then we stop? That's not a cliffhanger. You can't just stop anywhere and it's a cliffhanger. A cliffhanger has to have an equal promise of resolution and an equal promise of a new problem.
Yeah, you haven't told me that you know how to end anything. You haven't shown me that you have like an idea for where this is all going or what's going to happen. You've kind of just stopped.
Yeah.
And
even their argument didn't feel concluded. Like, it really did feel like they were having this beautiful poetic moment of like, what do we mean? And Sylvie was like, we've got to resolve it next season. Like, it felt like the character knew that there was another season they needed to milk.
Yeah, because Loki gets her to like slow down and breathe, and there is no reason to kill him within 5 seconds. Like, they could talk about it. It's like in episode 1 when Loki just needed 20 minutes in a room to look at some movies and he was a different man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the kind of ending that I will allow when it's like a cliffhanger that's not part of anything else. Mm-hmm. Like if Loki and Sylvie had completely resolved some other weird non-Kang related storyline, like we did it. We solved the problem of the variant Lokis and they came back and now the timekeepers were a Kang statue. That's a kind of ending I can get behind. Like, you've ended something else. Here's what season 2 will be.
Yeah.
I can get behind that, but this is not a resolution of what you were doing.
No.
And it's just really messy.
Super messy.
It's super messy. The fact that I was watching so closely and loving it and just am like, I don't know why Owen Wilson's acting like this. And that moment's not sad enough.
No.
I should
because it happens way too fast.
I should be really sad that his best friend and only friend doesn't remember him. Mm. And I am sad about it in theory, but that scene should have been gut-wrenching.
It honestly felt like I was watching an improv show and they needed to wrap it up in 2 minutes because the venue had another show coming in.
We got a bigger show coming in next. You guys got to go. Lights are clicking off and on.
I wasn't keeping track of where the time bar was on the episode. And Sylvie kicks him through the door, and this happens. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be an interesting last, 10, 15 minutes of the episode. And credits roll. I'm like, well, fuck you. That wasn't anything. Yeah. You didn't, those weren't scenes.
Yeah, you're waiting for the mid-credit. You're like, well, the mid-credit's going to be 15 minutes long, I guess.
We're going to have to wrap up a ton of, nothing.
Nothing. No jet ski.
No jet ski, which we all wanted.
We all wanted a jet ski.
And you don't, and I don't mean to be the bitchy person who's like, you've got to give them the jet ski because the fans wanted it. You don't need full resolution. But a cliffhanger is not nothing. It is equal parts resolution and new problem. It is just not this. This is the middle of a story.
It's not finished.
No, it's not finished at all. I will say, I think part of the reason why I think this doesn't work as an ending, and it's kind of interesting in a grander scheme of Disney Plus, that when we talked about Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision, how I find it interesting that typically the gauge for success of a television show is, does it get a season 2? But Disney Plus is doing this interesting thing where success doesn't necessarily mean a second season. I don't think we're getting one of WandaVision or of Falcon and Winter Soldier because they're evolving, they're changing, they're moving back to the movies. So success can have a different image than traditional television has had. And Loki is going for this traditional second season, and it's not a traditional series. It doesn't feel like it should have it. It actually now kind of feels wrong. And part of the problem of why this feels wrong, and I think why this wasn't necessarily successful, that Disney is doing differently than pretty much every television series before these Disney Plus shows. These Disney Plus shows, they don't have a showrunner. There are executives in charge. They have higher ranking writers. They do not have a title of a traditional showrunner. The director for this was Kate Huron, I believe.
Yes, what?
The director is the person in charge and the final say. And now, for those of you who don't know, traditionally, in film, the director is God. In a movie, the director has the most sway. The director can go to the writer and be rewrite the whole third act. The director has hands down the most power. In TV, the writer has the most power. TV is a writer's medium. Film is a director's medium. All three of these shows have had the same director for every episode, and the director is the person in charge of everything, and the director is the person who guides the story. And Disney has very much been like, these aren't shows, these are 8-hour movies, which I never like when a company is like, we think TV is a dirty word, let's not say TV. TV's fucking terrific, be cool about TV. But Disney is trying to use a film approach to television.
Okay.
And when it's a one-off, like WandaVision, or to a mixed success, Falcon and Winter Soldier, it kind of works. But of course you're not going to know how to do a TV cliffhanger and TV writing if you're making it like a movie. Like, you don't know how to do an 6-episode cliffhanger when you're trying to make it a movie with a movie director, but you have multiple writers, but no showrunner to guide it. You're guiding it by style and not by writing technique. And you can't make it a traditional TV show and treat it like a movie. It just does not work like that. I think that is just like a weird structural problem with this show, and why the ending is, I think, really sloppy.
Oh, that doesn't track for me, actually, your logic there. Because I would think a movie director would be good at an ending, because movies aren't continued for the most part. Most movies are just, it's a movie, here's the ending. Like, TV shows are continued. There's more episodes, there's more seasons. But I would think a movie director and writer would be like, and we have to end it because stories end.
But movies typically don't have 6 to 10 writers that need to be reined in and to create one cohesive storyline.
All right, that feels like it would be a problem throughout, but like an ending seems like something you just kind of beat out in the writer's room and you're like, that's the ending. Like,
I mean, that's the job of the showrunners, to make sure that that is beat it out and it's going to that particular place. And I just think the director doesn't have the vision and wherewithal to do that in a television space.
all right.
I think like that's just I think that this is one thing where like Disney's like, we're mixing it up because it's not TV, it's a 6-hour movie. And it's like, just make it TV. TV is a writer's medium for a reason.
See, I'm more confused about like Loki season 2, and okay, yeah, of course, Loki season 2. We love Loki. We love Tom Hiddleston. I know they have a plan. I guess they're Marvel. They always do, but it doesn't make any sense to me that like Loki will resolve this when we know at least 2 of the movies are about multiverses, and Kang's gonna be an Ant-Man. I'm like, and then Loki's gonna solve it? Like, after there's like 3 movies about it? Like, is he gonna be in the movies? Like, but he's got a show, so I feel like he's likely not in the movies. Like, what's gonna happen here? I'm actually super confused by the confirmation of a season 2 more than anything.
Yeah. Because it does seem like it should set up movies. I fully agree.
I mean, it obviously is, but it doesn't seem like movies should resolve on Loki. Like, how we get rid of the multiverse will happen on Loki season 2, probably?
I guess, and maybe they're just like, the multiversal movies are just dealing with hijinks of a multiverse and not necessarily like
The
resolving
core problem.
it. Yeah.
Because if no one else knows about the TVA, how do you even get out there?
Yeah, there's no reason to.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know what they're doing.
All right, fair enough. Well, good season. Bad ending. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on Loki?
Just like a few like one-offs. Here's like some positives to end on. I like that they really stuck to their theme that they brought up in about episode like 2 or 3, where like Loki and Sylvie have kind of like they're like sad on the planet that's about to explode, and Loki's like, we lose but we always survive. And I'm like, you guys really have stuck to that, because even in this one they lost yet again. But they're both still alive at the end.
Both survivors, yeah.
Yeah, so every single time they lose but they survive, kind of like, it's like, okay, yeah, because like if this was anyone else, you would win.
Right.
But you're Loki, so things aren't going to go well. But you're going to still be kind of clever. You're going to survive. The show really held on to that theme, except for the Lokis that did die.
Except for the Lokis that did. I
think only classic Loki died. Kid Loki and the glorious Loki walked away.
They did kind of walk off. Yeah. I mean, technically, all of them are wiped out in the removal of this complete timeline. But I agree with you. Well, that's why I actually thought that like there's a chance that Loki could have died again for real, maybe, because classic Loki defied that theme by being like, by being a sacrificial person who has family and understands that value now. I am no longer a Loki. Like I no longer apply that rule. No longer applies to me. And I think that was a nice and classic Loki, and Richard Grant was a beautiful, beautiful moment. I would say that like as a final positive for me was really good.
Oh yeah, he was really good. I liked all the Lokis. I think Kid Loki actually wasn't very good. But I liked all the Lokis. Crocodile Loki, absolutely ridiculous, so funny. I love that they went there. I really liked, and just in terms of like Loki's growth, I think that was the most important episode for me actually, because when all the Lokis show up and there's like President Loki and they're all kind of like having these petty fights at the end of time, and our Loki is just kind of like watching it and cringing and like seeing all the worst parts of himself. It felt like when I go on Facebook and they're like, here's a memory from 8 years ago. And I'm like, that wasn't me, was it?
Right.
Oh no, that's me.
That's you.
I did that.
You did that one.
I do that.
You do that one.
That's me? Ew. So like just watching him cringe and watch all of his other selves, like it felt like a big part of his growth to me. And I really believed that he like grew further from there and like became more sacrificial, more family oriented. So yeah, and also Richard E. Grant was it Richard E. Grant?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, wasn't sure about that first name. He was wonderful as classic Loki, and the fact that he adored wearing that terrible suit. Kudos to you, sir.
Love it. Brilliant performance. Wonderful cheesy suit. Absolutely terrific.
But yeah, I think that's maybe all I have to say about Loki. Interesting show, fun. Still no WandaVision.
No, definitely no WandaVision. Better than Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Bucky. But my
You're sorry to your boy Buck, but
my boy Bucky. I'm so sorry, but this show's better than your show.
What's true is true.
Maybe you'll be better in the new Cap movie.
We'll see. Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything we discussed, what would you change about this series if you could change anything? But before we do ask the final question, we want to remind you, as we do every week, and we'll keep it brief, is to simply review, subscribe, rate, review, and subscribe to this wherever you get your podcasts.
Subscribe to this.
Hit
you
subscribe.
Like it?
I know some of you listen to this through your browser or you directly download it or whatever. Open a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, hit subscribe, leave a rating and review. The rating and review helps us move up the charts. It helps the algorithm show us to potential new listeners. And then when people find our podcast, they're likely to read the reviews, which encourages them to hit download. It only takes a minute. While you're there, do it for a few different podcasts that you listen to, because it means a lot to podcasters like ourselves. So subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend, tweet, Facebook, whatever you do. Let friends know about the podcast. Those are free ways to support. If you want to support the podcast monetarily and get cool bonuses like exclusive episodes, you can head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. When you head over there, you can check out, there's different subscription levels. You can do monthly, yearly, you can do $1, you can do more. At the $10 hero level, you get a bonus episode of this podcast every single month. This month's episode, we did Werewolves Within. That is up now. And when you sign up at that level, you get immediate access to the complete back catalog of all of our Patreon bonuses.
We got so many bonuses. We got so many options for you guys. You're going to want to check it all out. If you like this, you'll like that.
Exactly. Why wouldn't you?
The logic tracks.
The logic tracks. So head on over, at least check it out. Head on over to patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That's patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. If it's in the budget. If it's not, we understand, but also if you even got a buck to kick in, literally $1, it really adds up and it completely changes the course of this network and everything that's going on. If you have it in the budget, patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
If this is allowed, I have 3.
Sure.
Excellent. Our podcast, our rules. Real quick one. No Sylvie Loki kiss. Gross. They're just friends, but they trust each other. Their hearts are broken to fight, but they do not kiss. A weird one that I didn't bring up, but I would like the time travel to be more fun and go to more relevant places. They kind of just went to nowheres. Like, they didn't go anywhere we know.
Right.
Like, I know they're trying to go to, like, apocalypses and stuff, and I don't even need cameos, but just even if you're like, we're in New York, or we're in Vormir, or we're in the Guardians of the Galaxy like giant head thing. Like, they went to like Ohio in 10 years and it was raining, and I'm like, this is not the most exciting place you could have taken us. You're a time travel show. You have no consequences. Like, Take me somewhere fun.
Right.
Show me like a new guy playing old Cap, or he's already old. That was a terrible option choice. Old Spider-Man.
Sure.
Like, something's fun. I would like more fun time travel. Options of where we're traveling to. And then my final change is the very end. Most of it's completely the same. Loki and Sylvie fight. Sylvie wins and kills Kang. But she doesn't push Loki through a door. They just kind of stand there and they look out the window and they hold hands and they watch the timelines diverge. and they've got free will. And we don't go back to the TVA and none of that bullshit happens. And we kind of just have to wait and see. And I think that's more of a conclusion to me. Like, they have free will, and maybe if we don't see the consequences, we still know that they're free. And they did it together.
Okay.
So that's kind of my more preferred ending. They're together, they get free will, and we don't have like just TVA bullshit with like, we don't remember you and Kang rules now. You can set that up later if you want to. I would be more happy just being like, they're free, excellent, let's walk away.
Okay.
So those are my changes. You don't need to agree with any of them.
No, I do with I do agree with them. Was that 3 though?
That was 3.
What?
No kiss, better timelines.
No kiss was just
No
a quick
kiss is
like
so
no
important.
kiss. So all right,
It's so important.
Yeah, I was like better apocalypses, funner time travel, and then there's the they hold hands and see the times diverge. But I forgot no kiss because that was just a quick hit. All right, those are the 3. No, I do agree with that. The kiss, I could take it or leave it. So I'm not hard opposed to you. I'm just going to get on Team Diana there, remove the kiss, get rid of it.
Thank you.
Cooler apocalypses would be awesome because there are other apocalypses we know of in the MCU.
What happened to Thanos' people?
I was just about to say Titan. The planet Titan, before it turned into the crazy wreckage that it was today. They even have the throwaway line in Endgame that the planet that the Nova Corps is on was completely destroyed by Thanos. There are several planets totally wiped out. Asgard right before as well. Like,
yeah, just like places where, and like Loki would fit in on Asgard. Absolutely. Yeah. Like places where you don't need to hire any of the main characters, you just address them as other aliens. Like, you're all Asgardians, you're all Titans. Like, yes, like fun time travel that's relevant to the MCU.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change anything because you're going to apocalypses.
As soon as you brought it up, my brain started like my neurons started firing of all the little apocalypses that would have been fun to actually go visit.
Like 2 Lokis running around Asgard?
Right.
Like before it explodes from Ragnarok?
That's fun. That is fun.
Fun.
So yeah, I can absolutely get on board with that. I would say my big change, it will be, like you, it will be the ending. I can 100% get on board with your change for the ending. I think that one of the bigger parts of changing the ending. So I agree with you that if Loki stayed behind, that could work as a like, Sylvie still didn't listen to him and kills Kang, and now they have free will, but they have free will together, and they need to talk and work this out. But this whole subplot of an uprising at the TVA is meaningless if we wipe that off. So they've literally written themselves into a corner where the B plot means nothing to no one because none of those people exist and who cares? Like the B-15 uprising, who cares? Mobius turning against his boss, who cares? The boss escaping, who cares? So they've made it all kind of pointless.
Absolutely, they did.
I think that is a great example to ground the consequences of what Loki and Sylvie are doing, but in a way that doesn't undermine it. So to combine it with yours, if it's Sylvie kills Kang, her and Mobius, or her and Loki are there. They see the timeline through the window diverging into a bunch of different stuff. Cut back to Mobius and B-15, a new free will timeline, and all of their monitors are freaking out. Everything is going nuts. And their biggest concern, they are monitoring the emergence of new TVAs.
Oh.
So it would then be like there's new TVA timelines. Like, and maybe like a Mobius shows up to meet a Mobius variant shows up to meet a Mobius variant. Like there could be a fight at the TVA.
Okay.
And it would be like this is, and like maybe a new Mobius shows up and he's like, this is for Kang. Like immediately to be like, Kang took over those other timelines.
Okay.
Like straight up Kang took over other timelines. I think that could have been a fun way to play off of that. To be like, we have one TVA that's on our side. And now we have like Loki can go back to his friend, but the consequences are there. That is a resolution with the promise of a new threat. New TVAs are cropping up, and the new TVAs all fight for a different version of Kang to get their timeline to be the prime timeline.
Okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I can get behind this because I hadn't. Oh man, you're absolutely right that like all of the uprising at the TVA has been negated now. Like there was no point to any of that.
Literally a pointless storyline.
If he doesn't remember anything that Loki did or that they did together. So yeah, that's garbage. That's wiped away. I actually like the idea of this is just how I would like this is me resolving things, not maybe so much what I would change, but if I was them, like, I think the TVA is out of time, so I don't think it would change at all if time changes. So I would like if the TVA just became like Kang censorship. We only get variant Kangs. The rest of the universe, free will. You can do whatever you want. Every Kang variant, we fucking roast them.
We're a Kang murdering crew.
We're Kang Terminators.
Okay.
We're Kang's conquerors. We
Ah,
conquer Kangs.
that's fun too.
And everyone else gets free will. But they just kill alternate Kangs.
Interesting.
So if I'm Sylvie and I'm running the TVA now, that's my job.
Okay.
But that's not really, maybe that's like the ending of everything.
Yeah.
We just kill variant Kangs.
How fun would it be though if it's your ending, if it's Loki and Sylvie looking at the timelines, and I just want the line of like, how bad could, like Sylvie being like, how bad could it be?
Three Mobiuses
Cut to
show
Mobius and B-15 fighting 4 different versions of themselves, and the rest of, and just being like, what did they do? Like Mobius screaming, like, what did Loki do?
I'm picturing just like the Anchorman fight with all the Anchormen.
Chaos.
Someone's got a trident.
Like they could parallel it. Like there's a Mobius who's an alligator. Like they parallel it with the other Lokis and shit.
Gotta have one on a jet ski.
One on a like
He's in a wetsuit.
hilarious chaos. That Anchorman fight, alligators, jet skis.
Yeah, elevate it.
Then it's comedy. It's right there.
It's right there. But for the most part, this was 95% a fun show.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. All right. Well, I think we did it. I think that's Loki.
That's Loki, baby.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for this week. Come back next week on the podcast where we're going to be talking about Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Come on and slam.
And welcome back to the jam. So we'll be doing that next week. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can reach me on Twitter at Ivimey, Ivimey.
You can reach me on Twitter at Words of Diana.
And you can reach both of us at From Superheroes. And we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.